My next guest burst onto the scene, to use that cliche, in 1976 back on New Faces. From that point on, effectively, he had 30, 40 unbroken years at this.
It's a long time.
It is. 90,
Too long, some would say.
to give him his proper and official title, Sir Lenny Henry. It is.
That's who I am.
Particularly in the early years, I got the sense you lived on your wits a bit, that you were naturally funny, that you had a force of personality, and that you could effectively carry crowds.
I could make my friends laugh, which was easy. You just put some milk in your mouth and slapped your cheeks and it all came out. Or you went like this. Bah! If there was a girl walking by, that was what made my friends laugh. And then I started to do impressions of people off the television. Frank Spencer, hello Betty, Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest, Scooby-Doo. So once you knew how to do those, it was fine. My friends would laugh. Then it became bigger, it became more public. So I would get up on stage at a discotheque and start telling jokes and doing characters and impressions there. And when you make 300 people laugh, that's very different to making 3 people laugh. And I thought, hang on, I'm onto something here. And my friend said, keep going, you can do this. Although I knew how to do 5 or 10 minutes for 20 or 30 people or 300 people in a discotheque, that's very different to going somewhere where they've paid money to see you do an hour. I didn't have an hour. I barely had 10 minutes. And I would literally go on stage and just try and improv my way through. It was fascinating. And because I'm a student of comedy by necessity, I kind of enjoyed the learning, but it was really hard. Audiences booing you, people getting up to go and buy a pie, people reading the newspaper while you were on stage. It was ludicrous, the things that happened to me.
Which is worse, the booze or the departure for the pie? Which gets you? Which cuts you deeper?
I think getting up and going because some pies have arrived is pretty... Nobody did that to Groucho Marx. Nobody did that to Jerry Lewis. They pretty much stayed in their seat to watch those guys. But to British comedians, the pies have come. Everybody gets up and goes to buy a pie. Unbelievable. And of course, also there was racism as well to deal with. I was a young 16-year-old black kid who was out and about doing the clubs in places where there was never anybody that looked like me. There wouldn't be a black person within a 40-mile vicinity of any club that I did. So I was always having to go on stage and make the first joke about my appearance. I'd always say something like, Enoch Powell wants to send people like me back where they came from. He's going to give us £1,000, which is great for me because it's only 10 pence on the bus from here to Dudley. Opening gag. I was like 17. That's not bad.
It's a good gag.
But...
It's unfortunate you have to do it.
It's terrible that you have to do it. Somebody said the past is another country, right? History is another country. And when I was thinking about this, and, a lot of tears and laughing a lot when I was writing this, but when you think back at some of the sad things, you do think, wow, that's the racism and the sexism and the homophobia was very much of its time. It does look archaic now. Millennials look at us and go, what were you guys up to?
So when it comes to the fame, do you see that as the objective or the downside? Like, did you like that level of attention?
My friend who used to work in a factory said, it's like when you sweep up the iron filings. It's part of the job, 74, 75 were the heydays of New Faces. And in 75, I won and was seen by 16 million people. And it was so amazing. I was in Leicester 2 weeks after I'd won New Faces. I'd never been to Leicester before. And I think I was doing a working men's club there for some reason. And I went to Leicester. I was walking down the street and a bus stopped in the middle of the street and a black guy poked his head out the window, the driver, and he said, Lenny Henry, you're brilliant. Come and sign this for my mum. And I went over, he had his head out the window and there were all these passengers going, where am I going to get to work today? What's going on? It was amazing. So people knowing who you are is the up and the down of this. Everybody knows who you are. And to me, being known by people when you're out and about. I mean, when I was married, we used to sit down sometimes in a restaurant and people would come and join us that we didn't know. They'd just go, I love you two on the telly. I was just saying to my wife over there, and they'd sit with you for an hour and a half. And you couldn't say, I'm really sorry, but I'm out with my wife. You had to kind of sit there and listen to them and then sign something for them and then they go. But now with phones, it's even worse because everybody's got a phone. Nobody knows how to work it. They ask you for a selfie. Then they spend 5 minutes trying to get in the weather and looking at old photographs and then looking at Twitter and then looking at, what film's on tonight. Then they find the camera. Then it's pointing the wrong way. Then they ask somebody else to take the picture. It's kind of crazy. It always makes me laugh, though. When you formulate a career, you need to think about it long and hard about what you're going to do. If you're going to write an adult book, a memoir, a kid's book, if you're going to be on telly, think carefully about what it is you want, because this is going to be your legacy. When you die, this is what you leave behind. So before you embark, think about it carefully.
Are you happy with your legacy?
I love it. Comic Relief has raised over £1.5 billion, and I've just been an Irish hobbit. What's not to like?